Okay, so it's time for the top 5 books of 2021. Okay, so I've already done my 2023 books and my 2022 books. So we're continuing to go backwards in time for some reason, but I'm also having to rely on my memory as well because it's like go back in time. So 2021. So yeah, okay, we'll start with some honorable mentions. Honorable mentions for 2021. Okay, so first honorable mention is Waiting for Godot. Okay, this is honorable mention because it's just a play. It's just a short play. But it was funny because it was a mixture of basically being like weirdly philosophical, but also just kind of funny and nonsensical. And it was kind of funny because it was nonsensical, but that also kind of made it philosophical because they just kind of just bumble about. So yeah, that's an honorable mention because it's just kind of like a silly, but also thoughtful kind of mix of stuff. The other honorable mention is In My Own Way. This is Alan Watts' autobiography. I don't know if you know Alan Watts, and if you know him, but I am a big fan. I'm a big fan of him. So yeah, if you don't know him, then you should definitely check out some of his speeches because like his speeches, well, so yeah, this book is basically just on the list entirely for me. So that's why it's an honorable mention. So he's a philosopher, basically. His speeches and stuff is just inspirational to me. So I had to read his autobiography as well, just because I really like him. So yeah, you should definitely check him out in general if you haven't heard of him before, because I like him a lot. So yeah, that's just, this one's just there for me basically. So that's honorable mention. Okay. So there's honorable mentions. Okay, so let's go to number 5. Number 5 top of 2021 is, what is it? M.R. James Ghost Stories. Okay, so M.R. James Ghost Stories, basically just your classic old British spooky Christmassy, because it's a tradition in England to have a ghost story at Christmas. It's just a tradition. Because A Christmas Carol, the most famous Christmassy thing, that is actually a ghost story, you know, and Charles Dickens liked to write ghost stories. Like, so M.R. James is one of the biggest forefront of British ghostiness, basically. So yeah, this is number 5 because they're just good short little ghost stories, basically. I will say that they're basically all the same, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean it in a comforting way. It's like you go to him, you read one of his ghost stories, you're not quite sure what's happening, and then it's kind of a bit spooky, but then it's kind of over, and they're all kind of like that. The absolute best one is Whistle and I'll Come to You, My Lad. That's his most famous one. That one is very, very good. It sets the groundwork for a spooky environment. Then it puts the characters through the spooky environment. Then it has a surge of spookiness, like towards the end, and it is kind of spooky and scary in a good way. And then it's sort of climactic, and then it sort of ends. It really, really manages to do it in such a way that you're on this ride, and then it's scary, but it's not scary in a way that you have to put the book down, right? It's scary in a way that you're gripping the pages. You're like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Right? That kind of thing. Always fun to have a little one of his little ghost stories. So yeah, that's number 5. Okay, good. So number 4 is The Day of the Jackal. Okay, this is number 4. So it starts out and it is very political and confusing at the beginning. And also it's set in France, so it's also very French, political, and lots of French names and things. So when I started reading it, I must admit that I was confused and a bit put off because I was like, okay, I don't really understand any of this, basically. But it kind of sets the groundwork for what the story is, because what the story actually is about an assassin. Okay, I won't go into it because I don't want to spoil things. Right? So it's this assassin, and so essentially he's a baddie because he's an assassin, right? Essentially he's a villain, right? But it's cool because you're basically on his side because you're like, well, what's he going to do? What's going to happen? How's he going to get into it? How's he going to get out of it? How's it going to go? And so that the entire arc of the story is his arc, and it's just really cool. And it's just cool to go on the journey and be like, oh, is he going to do this? Is he going to do that? It says that. The other thing is that the author is very famous for writing his books realistically, right? He wants everything, and that was one of the reasons why it's so complicated, yeah, because he tries to have everything happen realistically, like the locations are real, the people are, whether they're real or not, they're based on real scenario type stuff. The events, and because he's an assassin as well, so like any weapons he's using, any like train tickets and stuff like that, it's very real. The author tries to write it as if it could actually happen, whilst that does have the side effect of it maybe slowing itself down occasionally, because I didn't know where we were in France, right? It also really invigorates the story with a reality of like, this could actually be a thing. So there's that. And then no spoilers, but the ending, no spoilers yet, but the ending is very climactic and very famous. It's a very famous and very climactic ending. And so, yeah, it is cool. It is a very, like, you're on the edge of your seat. You're like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? How is this? How is that? And how he ties it up sort of with multiple little bows tying it up to finish it up. So yeah, that's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So yeah, that's number 4. That's number 4 on my list. Okay, good. All right, so before we get to the top 3, the podium position, before we get to the top 3, I would like to do this year's Book of Shame. Okay, Book of Shame. And okay, so I don't normally talk about the books I don't like, but I want to talk about this one for reasons which I'll also talk about later. But let's talk about this year's Book of Shame, The Heart's Invisible Furies. Okay, so this is kind of supposed to be an Irish dark comedy thing about growing up as gay in the 1960s, 1970s Ireland. Okay, that's what this is supposed to be. And I really dislike this book. Now, loads of people love it. Loads of people love its kind of story and its representation. And they go, oh, it made you laugh one minute, it made you cry the next minute. You know, that's what this book is set out to do. And that's what a lot of people think it does. And that's a lot of people like it, right? But for me, it's so awful. I just hate this book, right? So look, I get it. I get that growing up gay in 1960s Ireland is hard, okay? I get that it's hard, and modern day, it's lucky to be able to grow up like that, okay? So I get that. I get that that's the background, and I perfectly understand that that's where the book is coming from. But the way that it handles that is, for me, excruciating and cruel. And I get that that's kind of maybe what it's going for, I guess, but it's just horrible how it does it, right? The main character is such a nice, lovely person, okay? Basically, he is just any nice gay boy reader who's reading this book, right? Basically me, yeah. It's basically me, and possibly even you who's reading the book, right? And oh my goodness, how the book does it. It builds up these blocks of basically just horrible things that happen and then tumbles them onto the main character as they're just going about their day. It felt for me contrived and awful and horrible. And like the twists in the book were just, I could not get through it. I had to give up halfway. I had to throw it in the bin, yeah. It was too awful. And I'm not saying it was awful because the events that were happening were making me upset. It was because the way it was written was making me upset, basically. It was bad. So I really don't like it. And the reason I want to talk about that is because I would like to talk about this book again later on down the list for reasons, basically. But yeah, I really hate it. It's really horrible. It's the way it's written specifically, the forced way that it crushes the main character's hopes. It's just not nice. It's just not nice. I hate that. It's horrible. It's just an awful book, basically. So that's my Book of Shame for the year. Okay, Book of Shame. All right, okay. Okay, all right. So at number 3, we have A Cosmology of Monsters. Okay, so this is an interesting book. So whilst it's supposedly a horror book, it's not actually that. It's not like a horror book, right? Well, this book is actually about what actually constitutes an actual monster. And so it does have that supernatural monster element to it, but it integrates it into a family. And to say, is the monster actually a human, even though they're a monster? And are there humans that are actually monsters? And it takes the main character on that journey, kind of a coming-of-age novel for the main character. But it also ties itself up in a nice family kind of way as well. And it's actually quite sweet. So yeah, it's actually pretty good. And I think you should give it a go because yeah, it's fairly good. Okay. And that leads us on to number 2. Okay, so number 2. So this would have been my number 1 book of the year had it not actually been for my number 1 book of the year, which superseded it. So yeah, this would have been my number 1 book of the year. This is Mr. Penumbra's 24-hour bookstore. You know when somebody asks you for a book recommendation, right? There's a difference between a book recommendation and recommending a book, right? Does that make sense? So this is the book that I will just recommend as a recommendation to anybody to read this book because it's a book about books, isn't it? It's a book about books. It's the 24-hour bookstore. So Mr. Penumbra's 24-hour bookstore. But what this book actually is, without going into the spoilers of it too much, what this book actually is a book treasure hunt, right? It's a book treasure hunt, which is like really exciting and fun. And so the character has to solve this treasure hunt and he stumbles upon this treasure hunt basically. And it leads down all these routes to more books. And it's actually quite exciting. So it's a little bit silly, but it's not like a comedy. It's not overly silly, yeah? It just is that kind of fast-paced yet cozily enjoyable bookish adventure, right? That's what it is. That's basically the whole thing. And the characters are really cool. Mr. Penumbra himself, well, he's not the main character, but he is a very cool character. The characters are cool and they come together and they do the book stuff and it's a booky book about books. But it's not overly nerdy either. It's not overly bookish either. Like they're on a little treasure hunty adventure and that's what makes it fun. And it all kind of just comes together in a way that's nice. So I really, really like this book and this is one of the ones that I recommend and it's just exciting and fun and engaging and a little adventurous journey basically. So yeah, I do. This is what you should read. Yeah, okay. So yeah, I do like that one a lot. Okay, all right, okay. So number 1, okay, the number 1 book of the year. Oh my goodness, the Cider House Rules. Oh my goodness, Cider House Rules. This is a proper chunky book as well. This is number 1. It is an absolute masterwork of a book. It's very, very long. It does start off a little bit strange. It's a bit medical at the start, and I don't like medical stuff, so that kind of was a bit weird. But everything that happens in the book is relevant, right? Everything is relevant to its own self, and it has this continuous cycle of like introducing a new thing, and then it cycles round again, and then it introduces a new thing. This book, it's about a lot of things. It's about an orphanage. It's about abortion. It's about difficult topics like that and war and relationship, romance, that kind of thing. But the thing is of this book, right, is that every page is in place. There's not a page out of place, right? That's what I was trying to say. There's not a page out of place in this book. And it's kind of like, I kind of want to joke and say, shame on anyone who wrote a book that was shorter that had a page out of place, because this is so long and chunky, but every page is just right there. There's a tendency nowadays to have these long, epic fantasy novels that are really, really, really thick. And they have to do a lot of the groundwork of laying down like the world building and the character building and stuff like that, right? So it's like, people will be like, oh, they're long, but they're rewarding. Like, no. This book is like every page is done and great, right? The characters about this orphanage and the doctor who runs the orphanage and the characters that grew up in the orphanage and then other characters and interweaving of all these other characters and stuff. So it's so good. It's just so good. It's so real. It's so raw. It's so powerful. Like, it is such representation of like humans and people and lives and scenarios that happen. It's just so, yeah, it's just really good, basically. It's really, really long, but it's absolutely worth it because it's this whole world of human-centric emotions and drive and reasoning and compassion for things. And yeah, it's just really, really good. And so that is why I wanted to talk about The Heart's Invisible Furies, my book of shame, right? Because this book, The Cider House Rules, shows you how a writer can take difficult topics like an orphanage, an abortion, and other difficult topics that I won't spoil because they're in the book, yeah? Take these difficult topics and present them in a meaningful and moving and compassionate way, yeah? This book, how he does it in the Cider House Rules is perfect, and he is a master. This is a master work of how to do that. And that's why The Heart's Invisible Furies is for me a failure and a terrible book. It's my book of shame because it tries to take these difficult topics, but it just throws horrible topics at the main character in a way that it claims to be dark comedy, and I absolutely hate, right? It is put to shame by the Cider House Rules, and it goes to show you how it's really, really, really done. Difficult topics can be covered in an emotional and very long book as well. So yeah, it's a masterwork, and I absolutely praise it. And that's why I want to talk about the other book as well, because just the contrast between those two books, where one tries to do it and absolutely doesn't, and one does it in a subtle, compassionate build-up of real people and stuff like that. So yeah, absolutely. And just really, really great. So yeah, The Cider House Rules, my number one book of 2021. So yeah, that's it, isn't it? Okay. So yeah, let me know what you think of the list and the books and what your books were maybe, and maybe I'll see you again for when I go back in time and do my previous year to this or something like that as well. Okay. All right, okay, so thank you, and yes, okay, goodbye then. Okay.